1260, the Mongol Empire, an unstoppable force of nature, had conquered half the world. From the shores of the Pacific to the heart of Europe, their name was whispered in fear. Cities fell, empires crumbled, and armies were annihilated. After the brutal sack of Baghdad, the jewel of the Islamic world, nothing seemed capable of halting their advance. Their next target, the rich lands of Egypt, the last major Muslim power standing. The world held its breath, expecting the inevitable. But then, the unthinkable happened. In a valley in Palestine, at a place called Ain Jalut, the spring of Goliath, the Mongol tide was not just stopped, it was broken. How? How did the Mamluks, a dynasty of former slave soldiers, achieve what no one else could? Was it superior numbers? A brilliant ambush? While tactics and leadership were crucial, the Mamluks had a secret weapon, a piece of technology so advanced and terrifying for its time that it completely changed the face of the battle. It wasn't a sword, a spear, or a new kind of bow. It was something that spat fire and thunder. This is the story of the Battle of Ain Jalut, and the revolutionary weapon that helped turn the tide of history. To understand the shock of Ain Jalut, you first have to understand the Mongols. Under Genghis Khan and his successors, they had perfected a style of warfare that was terrifyingly effective. Their armies were composed almost entirely of mounted archers, fast, incredibly disciplined, and masters of maneuver. They would swarm their enemies, showering them with arrows from a distance, feigning retreats to lure them into traps, and then wheeling around to annihilate them. They were the masters of psychological warfare, spreading terror ahead of them to make cities surrender without a fight. By 1260, under the command of Hulagu Khan, a grandson of Genghis, they had stormed through Persia and Mesopotamia. The fall of Baghdad in 1258 was a cataclysmic event. The city was razed, its libraries burned, and its population massacred. The Mongol war machine seemed invincible. Hulagu then turned his sights on Syria and Egypt. He sent envoys to the Mamluk Sultan in Cairo, a man named Qutuz, with a chilling demand for surrender. The message was clear: submit or be destroyed, just like Baghdad. Most rulers would have trembled, but Qutuz was different. He was a Mamluk, part of a unique military caste. Mamluks were originally non-Muslim slaves, often of Turkic origin, purchased as boys, converted to Islam, and trained from a young age in the art of war. They were fiercely loyal to their masters and to each other, and they were among the finest heavy cavalry in the world. Qutuz, having risen through the ranks to become sultan, knew that surrender meant death. He chose to fight. In a stunning act of defiance, he executed Hulagu's envoys and hung their heads on the city gates of Cairo. There was no turning back. War was inevitable. Just as the stage was set for this epic confrontation, a twist of fate intervened. News arrived from the far reaches of the Mongol Empire. The great Khan, Menki, had died. Hulagu, as a potential successor, had to return to Mongolia with the bulk of his army to attend the Kurultai, the assembly to elect a new leader. He left behind a smaller, but still formidable, force of around 20,000 warriors under his most trusted general, Kip-Yuka. This was the moment Qutuz had been waiting for. It was a calculated risk, but it was the Mamluks' best and perhaps only chance. He gathered his army and marched north from Egypt to meet the Mongols head-on. The two armies met on September 3, 1260, at Ain Jalut. The Mamluk general, Baybars, a brilliant and ferocious commander, led the vanguard. He used the classic Mongol tactic against them, the feigned retreat. Baybars and his smaller force engaged Kip-Yuka's army, then pretended to break and flee, drawing the confident Mongol cavalry deeper and deeper into the valley. Kip-Yuka, believing the Mamluks were just another weak army crumbling before him, took the bait and ordered a full pursuit. It was a fatal mistake. As the Mongols charged into the valley, the main Mamluk army, hidden in the surrounding hills under Sultan Qutuz, sprang the trap. They descended from the heights, enveloping the Mongol force on three sides. The hunter had become the hunted. The battle raged for hours. The Mongols, trapped and outnumbered, fought with their legendary ferocity. At one point, the Mamluk left flank began to buckle under the pressure. It seemed the Mongols might just break through. Seeing his army waver, Sultan Qutuz threw off his helmet so his men could see his face, and charged into the fray, shouting, "O Islam!" His personal bravery rallied his troops, and they pushed back with renewed determination. The Mongols were surrounded, their mobility neutralized. Their archers were deadly, but in the close quarters Mali, the Mamluk heavy cavalry, with their heavier armor and lances, had the advantage. But there was another, even more terrifying sound on the battlefield that day. It was a thunderous roar, followed by flashes of fire and smoke. The Mamluks had deployed a new and shocking weapon, the hand cannon. These were essentially primitive guns, small, portable cannons made of metal tubes packed with an early form of gunpowder. While inaccurate and slow to reload, their effect was not primarily about killing the enemy, though they certainly did. Their true power was psychological. Imagine being a Mongol horseman who had only ever faced swords, spears, and arrows. Suddenly, the enemy in front of you unleashes a deafening boom, a flash of light, and a cloud of acrid smoke. The noise and fire would have been utterly terrifying, not just to the men, but especially to their horses. Horses are prey animals, and their instinct is to bolt from loud noises and fire. The Mongol army's greatest strength was its cavalry, and this new weapon targeted that strength directly. Horses panicked, threw their riders, and refused to charge into the noise and smoke. It sowed chaos and confusion in the disciplined Mongol ranks, breaking their formations and disrupting their charges. The Mamluks didn't need to hit every target, they just needed to create panic. And they did. This was one of the very first times gunpowder weapons were used decisively in a major battle, and it gave the Mamluks a crucial edge. The madfa, as it was called in Arabic, was their secret weapon. It was the sound of a new age of warfare. Trapped, terrified by the hand cannons, and overwhelmed by the Mamluk cavalry, the Mongol army finally broke. Kitbuka, the Mongol general, refused to retreat and fought to the death. His capture and execution marked the end of the battle. The remaining Mongols were hunted down and killed. For the first time in over half a century, a Mongol field army had been decisively defeated. The myth of Mongol invincibility was shattered. The news of the victory at Ain Jalut spread like wildfire across the Muslim world. It was a moment of immense relief and celebration. Qutuz was hailed as a savior, the defender of the faith. The victory secured the Mamluk Sultanate's control over Egypt and Syria, turning Cairo into the most important cultural and political center of the Islamic world. For the next 250 years, the Mongol advance into the Middle East was permanently halted. They would never again threaten Egypt. Though there were more Mongol invasions of Syria, they were always repulsed. The line drawn at Ain Jalut held firm. The Battle of Ain Jalut is one of history's great turning points. It was a clash of titans, a story of courage, strategy, and a fateful twist of luck. But it was also a story of technological innovation. The Mamluks didn't just outfight the Mongols, they outthought them. By embracing the new, disruptive technology gunpowder, they found a way to counter the seemingly unbeatable tactics of the world's most feared army. It was a lesson that would echo through the centuries. No empire is eternal, and no army is invincible. Sometimes all it takes is a clever plan, a courageous leader, and a weapon that goes boom. The spring of Goliath, Ain Jalut, lived up to its name. I knew David had defeated the Goliath of the steppes, not with a sling, but with fire and thunder. Thank you so much for watching. This battle is such a pivotal moment in world history, and the early use of gunpowder weapons is absolutely fascinating. What do you think would have happened if the Mongols had one? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this journey into the past, please hit that like button and subscribe for more epic history stories. We'll see you in the next one.